Okay, so welcome everybody to our final meetup of the year. Now, I see some new faces and also some regulars, but just for the new people, the Asia VR Association is a non-profit organization. All of us who run it are volunteers, but our aim is to really do something for the community, to help build a community, to share knowledge, to promote VR, promote dialogue. And so we have these meetups once every 2 months, usually, depending on our schedule. And we also try to do, sort of side meetups for which are very developer specific or focusing on different parts of the industry. And of course, you can find out about all of those on our meetup.com page. You can join our Facebook group, and we have a website. The other thing we do is a directory, so people who work in the AR and VR industry are welcome to put their company details in our directory. It's public. We get a lot of requests from all types of people to have access to companies working in VR, and so we always send them to the directory so they can find people. So it's quite worthy to do that as well. And there's a link on our meetup page if you want to do that. So today we have some lovely guests joining us. And sorry, I need my notes. So our guests. So we've got Clayton Doherty, who's from, did I say that right?
You did.
The World VR Forum, which is a Geneva-based organization, and we're gonna talk about all the cool stuff that they're doing to promote the industry on a global scale. We've got Gus Meat. Did I say that?
Yeah, that's
okay. He's the founder of FlyVR, and he's gonna tell us about his the business that he's building, which sounds very exciting, which is in the travel industry. We've got Roy Koo, who I'm sure all of you know, who worked on a really cool healthcare project, and he's gonna talk to us about how he did that. And then finally, we have Patricia and her team from Nanyang, Holly, who can share about some of the Skills Future initiatives that would help both companies and people who want to get training in VR related fields. So let's go on to the guests. And Clayton's up first, so we're gonna do a Q&A because he was very kind to fill in for Salah, who's his colleague based in Geneva, who was supposed to be here but has a flight that's only landing at 11 p.m. And Clayton happened to be here, so having you join me.
Thank you.
Oh, we need a mic for you.
Yeah, that's not good.
And I'm going to not steal your thunder and let you introduce yourself to everyone.
All right, well, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me. Funny enough, I was coming anyway. I was going to be sitting where you were, listening to my colleague and the rest of you, which I'm looking forward to. I happen to be in Singapore because my wife moved here in January, so this is my 4th trip to Singapore from Geneva, even though the World VR Forum is actually based there. The World VR Forum was just an idea that gave birth in 2015 when the World Economic Forum at Davos had introduced VR goggles to the prime ministers and presidents of the world, and they were watching clouds over Sidra. And all of a sudden, when I saw the response that the world leaders had to this new technology, I realized it had nothing to do with video games, it was about social change. And this was going to be huge. And from that, Solar and I had been working together in film. That's his background. He had been doing some work with some startups in VR. One is a major company out of Switzerland, it's called Ape Lab. And he knew the people at Kinzan Studios and Birdly. So Solar had all the connections. And the two of us got together with another co-founder called Delphine. And the three of us founded the World VR Forum. And what it was, we noticed that everyone was playing with VR, but no one was talking about it. And this was so radical to say, we're going to do it. And we went to LA to Oculus Connect. We met all the people at Facebook. We met them at Oculus. Mark Zuckerberg gave me my first pair of goggles, the Samsung Gear VR goggles. Of course, he gave to everyone at the conference that year. But the thing is that all of a sudden, it was the beginning of a revolution, as they said in 2016. And I was talking to people there saying, I want to bring your virtual world to my real world, because I'm a technophobe, really. Solar bought me my first smartphone just 2 years ago, and I've already broken it. As soon as I came to Singapore, it doesn't work now. Okay, so that just shows you where I'm at. But at the same time, I'm the one that's challenging us all as we go each step towards this new technology and displacing people's fears, maybe. But the forum ended up with 50 guest speakers from all over the world, and we ended up purchasing 30 pairs of Samsung Gear goggles, and we had 30 exhibits for people to attend, and that really was our first event. And we had 9 weeks to put it together. And the reason it had to be in May is because we were on top of the Swiss Alps and it had to be after the ski season. But more importantly, it's the week before the Cannes Film Festival. And that was the hook to get Hollywood involved with us, which we all know are key players in the industry. And funny enough, they came. And we met them in Oculus Connect and also to promote the idea. And within 9 weeks, we only expected 450 people to show up, but over 1,500 attended from all over the world. And from there, we gave birth to an idea, and we were being invited everywhere. We went 4 weeks later, we were at the Shanghai Film Festival, and they had wanted us to do a forum, but instead of 50 speakers, we only brought 8. But key speakers from Berkeley, from Felix and Paul, Real FX Studios, some really prominent people in the industry we were able to bring with us from our own conference to Shanghai. But the forum was only for 2 hours. But we were there for 10 days, and so we hosted a VR cafe in a space about this big. We had 18 swivel chairs. And in this VR cafe where people could come and experience VR for the first time, we had over almost 6,000 people come through it in 10 days. Because that's what people need. They need a place to try it. Because once you've tried it, we all know it's very immersive, it's very powerful. And of course, my background also is in education, so when I look at how powerful this technology is, I'm also worried about it, the dangers of it. So as we started progressing from our first event to our second festival, we were now at the Toronto Film Festival. This year we've been at Sundance, we've been at Cannes. We've been very fortunate to be invited to all these events and participating. But our second annual event, we had almost over 80 guest speakers over 3 days now, and it was a 4-day event instead of a 2.5-day event. So 3 days of forum, because to me that's still the most important part. It's the forum, the dialogue between the industries. And this year we had 3 days, 3 themes. The first day was the brain, the second day was storytelling, and the third day was the convergence of VR. And it was amazing having all the scientists and doctors and lawyers appearing at these conferences, and the dialogue they were sharing, from the Hollywood directors to gamers from Brazil. It was an amazing place to be. And of course we had over 2,500 people attend this year. Again, we were just at the right place at the right time. And Switzerland's amazing. It's the capital of the NGOs, so it has that whole business sense that we're supported by. And so we've been very lucky.
Yeah, so, this is a forum for everyone to ask questions, so please do. I guess, what is the stuff that you're doing in other parts of the world?
Well, for us, it was just the mission of supporting the industry. And this is why when Shanghai asked us to come, we said, yes, but this is what we're going to bring with us. We're going to support it. We want as many people to try it. So we've been attending as many events as we could from around the world. And at the same time, like last November, I went to a conference called Von IFRA. That's the World Association of Journalists and Publishers. It's the last place you'd find a gamer or anybody going to, but they had wanted me to be on a panel about the immersion of virtuality in journalism. And so I came there with some VR journalist experiences that the New York Times had produced, The Guardian, CNN, they're all playing with it. So I was able to bring some pieces to share with these people. But there were 6,000 people at this expo, and after my panel, Von IFRA became a partner with us. So this year at our conference, we actually invited 9 journalists from around the world to take a 3D masterclass in VR journalism. So we hosted the first class for journalism in the professional world. And these were journalists that have been working in the field for 15, 20 years. And they came as far as Kenya, Mexico, all over Europe and England. And of course, we had Associated Press, we had Milan, we had Euronews. I mean, it was amazing the experiences that these journalists brought to the table. But they were excited to learn something new in their own fields.
Yeah. So do you feel that, I guess, in the time that you've been doing this, the momentum is building? Because I think all of us, you know, we are working in this industry and kind of waiting for the tipping point.
Well, it was a revolution in 2016. You know, there's so many things we're waiting for because we're all waiting for augmented reality, aren't we? I mean, this is the big changer. It's a game changer for all of us. We know that the goggles have a lot of limitations, but there's a lot of room still to explore that industry. You know, VR, you're by yourself, but now you're not, because we were synchronizing 20 people at the same time, and we were at the UN this year introducing to 250 countries, or like 1,800 ambassadors and ministers from around the world, and I had 10 children on stage, and they had VR goggles, just the cardboard ones. We were showing this can be a cheap tool and accessible and affordable, and the ministers in the audience were all wearing cardboard goggles, and they were all standing on Mount Everest together. And you know, and for some of them, this was their first time also. So we are just trying to be at the right place to show the world what's happening and how amazing this technology is.
And what is your, I mean, you've seen so much going on around the world. How do you feel about what's happening in Southeast Asia in the VR space? Like, how does it compare?
Well, I got overwhelmed when I came to Singapore the first time. I couldn't believe how much was going on here, seriously. And I've met so many amazing people, even at the International Film Festival this week. They had a VR panel, and all of a sudden I met all these amazing people. So I keep myself busy when I come to see my wife. She's working every day anyway. So, but it's which is a good sign. I mean, I know that we all know when Oculus Studios closed this year, there was a shockwave through the industry. VR is dead, you know, because one of the biggest players decided to close shop. But if we all reflect on how many mobile phone companies there used to be when the mobile phones first came out, and how many still exist, you know, it is the survival of the fittest also. And if you look at Google expeditions that have been all over North America, introducing VR to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of children throughout North America, and they've moved into England this year, and they're building a new facility. It's like 70 million pounds worth of facilities, employees, but I can bet VR is a big part of that. And they're going to be introducing virtual reality to over 1 million children in the UK this school year, bringing the cardboard goggles into the classroom to show it as a tool. So, and this is, you know, I grew up in Apple. My background is theater and film. So I was doing theater in the San Francisco Bay Area at the beginning of my career when Apple Computer Macintosh came out. And I remember when I was trying to raise money for my theater company, Apple would never get money, but they'd give me a free computer every time I walked through the door. And then I realized all the schools had Macintosh computers in all the classrooms everywhere. All these kids were growing up with Apple products, and look what's happened now. And this is a grassroots approach, and that's what Google is doing with VR right now in education. And that's where you need to start. And this is going to be one of our main focuses this year at our own conference, is creating an education program and starting on that.
Does anyone have any questions?
Could you tell us a little bit more about some of the initiatives you have to support the players in the industry?
Well, we have a VR lab in Geneva, and so we are creating projects out of that lab ourselves with, you know, players that want to come in and need a venue. We're actually at a post-production film studio, so we actually have a lot of access to equipment there, but it is a solid venue, and so we have architectural firms building VR programs there. You know, different cinematic film projects on the art side of the industry is being created there. But we're also realizing this is a very mobile world now, isn't it? I mean, we spent the last year and a half in China right now, you know, developing projects there and creating, you know, a stream of ideas going both ways from Europe and Asia. You know, because again, Switzerland is this capital that brings in business and the governments of the world. And so we're in the right place to do that, I think, and that's what we've been trying to do. Is there's a conference called WSIS in Geneva, which is hosted by ITU, the telecommunications company, and the UN. And this is all about technology, making it accessible to everybody around the world, whether it's a third world country or not. How can this technology help humanity? How can we improve? And this is what we're there for. And you'll see the most profound things that have been out there are about things that are affecting social change, without a doubt. You know, and this is a good time for people to get involved, for sure.
So now that you're half living in Singapore, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you foresee potentially doing something here?
Definitely. I mean, I've talked to so many different organizations, even from the Singapore Repertory Theatre Company, live stage companies interested in doing a VR project, to you know, the Singapore International Film Festival, which is on right now. We've talked to them about possibly doing something in the future with, you know, I've met people at the EDB. I mean, the World VR Forum, we want to facilitate, you know, we want to facilitate an event, and I think it's time for an event in Singapore. You know, at the same time, Solar is already talking about opening up an office in Shanghai, because that's important to this industry that we have a base in China also. So there's a lot of development happening, and what we're doing in China right now is creating a flow of content, because that's what this industry needs. But Solar and our group have been working real closely with the Chinese government on regulations to prevent piracy. And all these aspects of this industry, and we're hoping to create a way of bringing people's products through the World VR Forum straight into the Chinese market. So artists are protected, artists are paid for their work, and artists have an audience for their work. And that's really what we're doing and what we've been doing for a year now. And this last year we hosted China as our country of honor at the World VR Forum. And even the president of Jean China was on my jury for the conference this year. I mean, we did our first film competition ourselves. So instead of having the VR Journalism Masterclass, we also had an official film competition. And of course, in Switzerland, we have to be world class. So having the president of Jean China on our jury was important. We had Sherry from the Sundance Film Festival on our jury. We had Chuck Peel from Real FX on a jury from Hollywood. I mean, we had amazing people, and the winning film was called Solitaire, which was an amazing, emotional piece. Again, it was an amazing story, you know, and again, talk to me afterwards. But if you go on our website, the reason I try to put anything about the World VR Forum, everything we've done in the last 2 years, every talk, every guest speaker you can watch on our website for the last 2 years, and you can see all the films that were in the competition this year. And it shows the standard for sure. So yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions?
What are the difficulties right now for the VR world?
Well, money. I mean, it hasn't changed yet, has it? I mean, but the thing is that, you know, if you look at, you've all heard of Magic Leap, right? Magic Leap in Florida, the augmented reality company. Okay, a year ago they were valued at $1 billion, and they hadn't produced anything, and now they're valued at $8 billion. They still haven't done anything yet, but I can tell you this: the people that are giving the money, they've seen it. Let's face it, they have, and they know it's going to change the world. You know, and it's already changing medicine, it's changing, you know, even Walmart is using it to train employees, for goodness sake. Airlines are using virtual reality for job training. So as creators, you need to look at where your market is to make money. That is education, that is job training, that is industry. Those are the people that are interested in it. You just need to show them the products, you know, and the ideas. But the most important thing is the story. There has to be a story. I mean, even I've been invited this last year. We were approached the World VR Forum to go into some conflict areas. And we're talking some major conflict areas, which being an American could be problematic, but also dealing with the security involved in going in those areas in the first place take months of planning. But I told the guy, I said, look, I'm very happy, I'd be willing to do it, except my wife and daughter won't let me do it, but I'd still probably win that argument, maybe. But the thing is I said, the story is the most important thing. I don't want to go in and show how terrible it is. I also want to show that there's hope. That story has to show hope, even if it's only a 3-minute story or a 5-minute story. But again, going back to China, in America, the big thing is Dreamscape, which is a Swiss company also, has just received $20 million backing from, MGM and Spielberg. they're putting the first VR shopping center project together, where China already has 3,000 VR arcades. Okay, America's doing their first big one. China's got 3,000 of them going right now. And that's an important market to stay connected to. And Solar will be here tomorrow, and he's the person to connect with also while we're here. And I'll be at the conference tomorrow too. But that is what we've been spending our last year on. Besides focusing on the forum, how can we make it grow around the world? And we're not denying China's a big player.
Yeah, so the conference he's referring to is the Singapore Media Festival has a VR focus day tomorrow, which is actually free. You just need to register. It's all day at MBS. It's part of the Asia TV Forum, so it's like an offshoot event where Salah was coming from Geneva to speak there. And there'll be a bunch of other people, and I think someone posted it in our Facebook group like a day or two ago, so if you scroll through you'll see the details there. Yeah, but is there any other questions? No? I think my final question would be, how do you get your funding?
The first year, we really were just paying for it ourselves to get started. And I remember when we bought the 30 Samsung Gear VR goggles and Samsung phones, you know, buying 30 of them in a whack is not an easy thing. But what happened after that is the next year we traveled all over the world, because then people were paying for us to go somewhere. They weren't paying for our time, but they were paying for our expenses, which we have been donating our time to this cause around the world for 2 years now. Now we are starting to get a lot more funding from banks, from our local community, because even when we moved to Crans-Montana, because of the Swiss funding system, they couldn't even give us any money, because we approached them 9 weeks before our conference. And if you want funding in Switzerland, you have to apply the previous August, go through September applications, by Christmas, and you get the money by January. Here we were, February, March, going, and our conference was in May. But what Crans-Montana did, which is why we're going to be there for the next 20, 30 years as an annual summit, is that they gave all my guest speakers free hotels. They gave us a free venue to hold the conference. They housed 60 volunteers from universities from around the world, from students that came to run the conference. I mean, they just gave us everything, because they also saw the investment. They saw how big this was going to be. And none of us expected 1,500 to show up the first year. And we were very excited that we almost doubled that this year. And next year will be even more so. But there's so much room to explore, because we have to focus on health and education this year, and we're still planning the forum right now. But we're looking. You'll see we have several initiatives on our website. You'll see we're offering an artisan residency program. So if you're a VR artist and you want to go to Switzerland for 3 months, we're providing all your expenses paid for to go in a ski chalet or apartment. You can have a team to 5 people. Now, I know the applications are due at the end of this month, but you should look on site. We might be postponing the launch, but right now the deadline is the 30th of this month, I think. But we've been giving funding. What?
They have 2 days.
Yeah, we've been giving funding to support this project, and you're going to be mentored by Sherry, who's the head of the VR Festival at Sundance Film Festival. You're going to be mentored by the gentleman who runs Birdly from Zurich. You're going to have Chuck Peel from Real FX Studios, who does Divergence and Hunger Games VR. He's going to be your These are the people who are going to be mentoring these artists. So if you go on the website, you can see what's happening there, and we've put a announcement out for that. So we're doing as much as we can with what we have, but we're doing pretty darn good, actually. And I'm glad to be here. I'm going to be here for the rest of the evening, so please talk to me if you want to afterwards, and I'll definitely be at the event tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much, Clayton.
My pleasure.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about one business idea that I've had for InVR. My name's Gus Neat, and I'm an exchange student here in Singapore from Oxford University. And I'm going to be talking to you about a project I'm hoping to build called British Airways. Has a star-studded celebrity video. Qatar Airways include the Barcelona football team. But it's not just them. Every top airline is looking for a way to increase its customer engagement and brand value. I believe that by using immersive in-airport experience delivered by FlyVR would be a far better solution to the problem. I've divided engagement through virtual reality into 3 different levels. The very basic level would be through something like a 360 video, which I think can really be useful for orientation, but you can build on that in your second level with interaction. The ultimate goal really is to immerse someone in a scenario where things that weren't originally possible, but it feels very, very like a real situation. And that's what I'm aiming to build for FlyVR. I'm working with an HTC Vive and a Zotac high-performance computer as the specific hardware we're using. But on the software side, it's being built in Unity with high-quality professional models from TurboSquid and Autodesk modeling software. In terms of what I'm building, the first stage is to prove the validity of the concept. And I believe an emergency evacuation is one of the strongest use cases for VR as a flight safety demonstration. Following this, I'll be working on a full safety demonstration that you could be used in an airport. The third and fourth stages are to increase the commercial viability of the product by bringing in those real wow factors for people who put on the experience. And lastly, using data and analytics to provide useful insights for flight safety and customers. In terms of that initial emergency evacuation simulation, I have a working demo that I couldn't bring today, but what this allows is for you to teleport within an aircraft, navigate to the emergency exit, pick up and look at a first aid kit, find where that is, a basic user interface, object interaction, and exit the aircraft. But this is just the basics. What I want to move on to are some of the scenarios that are highlighted in the International Air Transport Association's Best Practices Guide. What they're really concerned about in emergency evacuations is how do you prepare people for if there's a fire, or there's smoke in the cabin, or water, or structural damage. And existing flight safety videos aren't able to show people how to react in these situations. But I believe it's possible to simulate this effectively with FlyVR. Following this, as I said before, some of the more familiar elements to flight safety can be included in the experience. But in particular, things like oxygen masks and life jackets, it might be worth actually having them in the airport to be tried on alongside this, so that in a panic situation where you have to evacuate, you've seen one before.
Can you lower the microphone?
Yeah. So in terms of the commercial experience, I'll be looking to partner with leading airlines to provide seat trials for business and first class seats alongside the VR experience. Using VR, you can recreate the service that you will get in these seats from a top airline company. So that might involve having your food brought to you or drinking a glass of champagne. Some of the real wow factor elements that you can include exploring the cockpit, standing on the runway as a plane takes off over your head, or getting a peek inside an exclusive Singapore Airlines first class cabin. These are all things that you won't be able to normally experience through an airline and will really help an airline to stick in the customer's mind. Finally, it's the data and analytics side of the business that I would believe will be valuable in the future, allowing you to prove that passengers are better prepared for danger, as well as prove that they are more engaged with your brand. In terms of the business model for this company, I believe advertising and product placement on the installation would be beneficial to, for example, duty-free retailers, reminding you have you got your purchases. It might be possible to ticket the demonstration to passengers on the flight. If you're waiting in the airport, would you like to try out the latest virtual reality flight safety? And lastly, airports or airlines as a customer to install the demonstration. In Singapore, I'm looking at trying to partner with Changi Airport and the Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore, as well as in conversation with Singapore Airlines and British Airways. So a timeline is that in January of 2018, I hope to demonstrate the evacuation simulation. Then in March 2018, seek formal partnership and add additional features based on feedback. And finally, in April 2018, I'll deliver the product and seek my first customers. If you're interested, I would love to hear from you. Please do send me an email, and I'll look forward to taking your questions. Thanks, everyone.
Question?
So for phase one, what device are you thinking of using?
It's with an HTC Vive, and then built in Unity. So it has the 2 controllers and the full-on head immersion.
So just so I can understand it, but it will be used on the airplane or on the ground
In airport.
in the airport? So they'd be like a showcase or a standalone thing, and go check it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a silly question. Would people want to see a disaster before they get on the plane? Because I mean, the planes don't even show plane movies.
Yeah.
They don't show disaster films on a plane for a reason.
Yeah.
And so I'm having, as a passenger who flies all the time, and I know how immersive and powerful this is. I'd be going, Daddy, I'm not going on that plane right now. I see a really niche market for this for stewardesses and training that they're doing already. I'm more concerned about the passenger aspect of whether it'd be a positive effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is true. I think it will be carefully structured to ensure that you're well led through the experience. Yeah, I guess that is a risk. Yeah.
I mean, I remember when my daughter turned 16 3 years ago. Oh my God, 3 years ago she turned 16. I got to sit in the emergency row for the first time because my daughter was old enough to. So we both had long legs. And I made her read the card and go through it, And how many of you actually read the card, okay? I have read the card when my daughter was 16. And if you look at it carefully, they show you when you land on water what happens. And the people in the front, they have that flotation device in the front. And the people in the back, actually, it's that ramp, that flotation. But if you look at the people in the middle, you climb on the wing and you jump in the water and find 5 friends to float with. That's what, I told my daughter, I said, I can't believe we're sitting on the wing. I said, don't worry, I'll go to the front and get the raft for you. Because she was concerned because she saw the picture of the 5. I don't even know 5 people on the plane, she said. And
Yeah.
so even
I completely understand. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it would be a battle perhaps to persuade people that it's better in the disaster situation to react not by panicking and know where you're going. If anyone survives, it'll be you after this.
Well, no, the airline always says, they say put your heads down. It's almost like doing a prayer. Put your heads down. And I'm so much older than you, so I've flown so many times, but I can tell you, over the years, the stewardesses all face us for a reason. Is because that's the safest way to fly, is backwards. But when they started the airline service, everyone refused to fly backwards. And everyone wanted to fly, but it's not the safest way to fly. And so they will be the first ones, if anyone's going to survive, they'll be able to help because they were strapped backwards in a weird way. And a lot of military planes do fly backwards, and service planes and stuff like that, because that's the safest way. Anyway, leave it out there.
I just have one more question. I'm curious about how did you get this idea? Like, what was the moment when you were like, oh, let's do a VR simulation?
I think I was sat on an aircraft because I fly around from Singapore quite a lot too. And I was thinking that how many times have I seen one of these videos, but if a plane actually crashes, I don't actually know how to put on a life jacket. I don't know how the oxygen mask works. I've never opened an emergency door. If I actually knew how to do that, if a plane crashed and I was there, I might have a better chance of survival. Might be interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
So now we have Roy, fellow board member, who's going to talk to us about his project under the sun.
Hi everybody. So it's me again. Seen me a lot of times. So the reason why I'm speaking today is because like for the past half of the year, I've been involved in the project, we call it Under the Sea for Pediatric Anesthesia. So it's a virtual reality experience that I was working together with some doctors from NUH. So they came out with the idea of doing this project, and I was approached to actually help them to actually create a very simple virtual reality experience to showcase the idea that they were trying to push forward. Yep. So I'm not the guy who is came up with this idea. So we are just helping them. Okay. Yep. So Ignite VR is ourselves. We mostly do games, entertainment, events, that kind of things. And sometimes, like for example, this project, we like to actually venture out a bit into the other industries and see what we can do, because we feel that there's a lot of potential there. But of course, we like to play games more. So yeah. So if you want to follow us or you want to engage our service, event service, or anything to do with virtual reality, just drop me an email at Ignite VR. Okay. We have us on Facebook and wherever. Okay, just my office is here actually, so you can drop by and say hi to me later. Yeah. So the problem for this that we are trying to solve is preoperative anxiety in children. So just a short background of the doctors that approach us. There were two anesthetists and one play therapist. So what they do is they work with a lot of children before they go to their operation. Okay, they have to put them under anesthesia, and the play therapists actually play with the kids so that they are more relaxed before the operation. So they have this problem that when the kids, before they go for anesthesia, a lot of them are very anxious. I'll show a video later of what a kid looks like before they go for anesthesia. Okay, so this part, before they go for this anesthesia induction, is the most anxiety-provoking part. And it is proven, so it's part of the literature that they researched on. So some of the problems that come up after that is, it's not really during the process when they put on the thing, it's also after that. Okay, so after the operation itself, they have a lot of, they might suffer from this kind of long-term behavioral problems. Yeah, so 80%, 20%, that's quite a lot, I think. Yeah, so we're talking about kids, but about 2 years to 5 years old. So if anybody here who have kids, and you can imagine that they undergo operation and they have this kind of issues, it can be actually very heartbreaking, I would say. So the solution that they thought out of is Under the Sea VR app. So what we want to try to do is to use distraction therapy. So there's many ways that we can actually combat this problem. One thing is to go through medication. So we can make them a bit drowsy or that kind of things. They can go through some sort of education program, educate them about what is this entire procedure about. Not really common in Singapore, Asia, but maybe in the US or Europe. Yeah, and I don't know why, because maybe the kids here, I don't know. I don't know. So and another thing is distraction therapy. So they use games and the kind of things to actually distract the kids when they put them under anesthesia. And we think that using virtual reality is actually one of the best ways to actually use this distraction therapy. For reasons that is because it's so immersive, and the way that we are doing this app is you can see why it's actually very good, especially for anesthesia. So this is the prototype that we came up with, something that looks like this. So you can see it's a very cheap VR headset. You can buy it at Miniso for $5, I believe. And the thing below that you can see it's an anesthesia mask that they use actually in the before the operation. Okay, that's the real thing. And the snorkeling goggles is just aesthetics. Yeah, nothing to do with the thing. So this is our prototype. It's very rough, but actually serves the purpose of this experience. Okay, so we can have a video of what the experience looked like. It's a very simple thing that we did it over a few months. Not the actual the design, the discussion, and that kind of thing. So they wanted to have something very colorful, that is cheap to produce, and some sort of interactivity. You can see at the bottom, you can see some bubbles over there. So those are not like just animations. They are created when you blow up into your microphone. So when you blow harder, then you can see more bubbles. So that is one of the interactions that we have in this game. And when you blow up bubbles, the fish come and swim around you. So it's a very simple type of experience that we. Okay, so does it work? That is, of course, the most important question. Okay, so after we created this app, what we did with it was to use it for some trial. So here I can show you what happens when a kid without anesthesia. You can see that's the mom actually grabbing onto her or him. I'm not very sure, but yeah. So these are the doctors that is actually involved in this experience. So the mom had to actually grab the kid, and it's really tough to actually get the mask on even. So it took about 10 minutes to actually put a kid under induction. 10 minutes is a long time, and it can be quite dangerous because the amount of it's better to have the kid like go under anesthesia faster, okay? Because if too much gas you breathe in, right? Because it takes if you just breathe in a bit every minute, right? Then it takes a longer time to actually fall asleep, and it's actually quite dangerous when you breathe in too much. So when we tried on this VR headset, we created the experience, and then we test run it on about I think 5 patients, 5 kids. Yeah. So before even they go for the anesthesia thing, like during their regular time, we let them play with the virtual reality app. So they are used to it actually. So now when the real operation is here, we let them play a bit again, and this time we actually use the mask, and now they're blowing in and out. So we put a microphone inside the mask, of course. So when they blow in and out, it's like playing the game, and it's not so stressful this time. It's different from the usual very harsh environment of the operating theater. You see the white lights, you see the knives and scalpels and the drills and you know whatever, and all these doctors scary looking, wearing the cap and the gowns, and yeah, and a lot of them crowding around in them. So it can be quite scary. But now when they're wearing the VR headset, it's just turtles and fishes and corals, and when they blow up bubbles, it's sort of quite fun too. So let's then go under induction in a very much more peaceful way. Yeah. So this entire idea it's not very complicated, right? So it sounds very. I think it's very easy to understand that this is a good idea that it should be used more now that we have this technology, this virtual reality technology, to be able to use it quite broadly in many places, easily in a way that is quite affordable, I would say. So this is some of the results that we got. Okay, so why are we interested in this this project? Okay, so other than, of course, this project came about from a competition that we participated in. It's called the Health Innovation Tech Challenge. Yeah, it's called the Health Innovation Tech Challenge, organized by Ivan from the Serious Game Association. So, so we took part in this competition. That's why we were paired with the doctors, and we won it. We won both the Singapore round as well as the global round, which was held at Slush Singapore recently. Yeah, so other than the competition itself, right? The reason why we are interested in this because it's something that is a problem that is faced day in, day out by doctors themselves. So they recognize this problem and they want to actually do something about it. You can see in Singapore there's about 10,000 pediatric surgeries a year, and in the United States there's 200,000. So you look at it across the world, right? There's a lot of this kind of opportunities to use this kind of simple software to help kids around the world to suffer less, I think, throughout the operation. Yeah. For the business-wise, what we have done the first part is to use an interactive app, and of course we can do it better with further development, which we are working on. And other things that we're going to do in the future is to develop more reusable clinical hardware that's more specialized for kids. Currently, the headset, the challenges that we are facing right now is that the headsets are more meant for adults. So when the kids wear it, okay, this is going to have a lot of, it's tough to actually wear it. We used to run an arcade, I'm sure you know. So we had 5 years old kids to play. It's really tough to use that because the head straps are too big for them. So we had to do a lot of different ways to do it. And then the kids who are using all these headsets right here, 2 to 5. That's what they want to, the target customers. Yeah. So we need to have a lot more research when we are dealing with kids like that. The type of headsets, the ergonomics, lenses, and those kind of things. There's a lot more research that we need to do. And also we want to incorporate medical sensors. We are using the microphone at the moment. It's a very cheap way to use it. But of course, in the future, we want to do things like have a, I don't know the exact term for it, the doctors know it's something that can measure the breathing in and out of the air, okay? And we want to incorporate it into the virtual reality headset. Yeah, so that is the idea of how this actually, this virtual reality experience will be moving forward. Yeah, so It was a pleasure for Ignite VR to actually be involved inside this project, and we hope that in the future, next year, we can also maybe participate in one or two of this very interesting project. Yeah. Okay, so our aims in a nutshell is to reduce the trauma for patients, cost savings for patients and institutions, assist the healthcare professionals in patient management. So, yeah, so that's all. So if any questions, just let me know. You can just search for me at Ignite VR on Facebook mainly, or just email me at hello@ignite-vr.com. All right, thanks.
So Roy, does this mean Ignite VR is becoming a medical VR company now?
That's not really true, because the project is still headed by the doctors themselves. So we'll try to support them in whatever way we can, be it a joint venture in the future or just a simple tech partner that they engage us to actually create this app. Yeah. So the future is still not so clear yet, but we'll see how it goes. And of course, yeah. We're still an entertainment company. We like to do events, do games, and that kind of things. That's the core focus of the company. Yeah. So this is a side project that we like to do here and there. Yeah. Of course, we don't really do a lot of these kind of side projects. Only when we find something that is really interesting and meaningful, like this project was. Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions? Oh, many.
Yeah. Maybe Frank.
Very interesting application. I think I saw.
Frank was in the same competition.
Yes, that's I saw that Roy's have won the champion in that competition, and our team was number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, let's get to talk. It's very interesting application. We also developed some apps in VR for the children in the past, but from our experience, some of the parents and teachers they have some concern about the side effect if the children they wear the goggle for a certain long period of time because they're not sure, and actually this is not medically proved whether wearing and watching these VR videos will impact their eyesight. I don't know whether that for your application you just there is a 5 minutes or 10 minutes play or that, or it is
We try to keep it under 2 minutes actually, because we want to let them sleep within like 1 minute if it's possible. Yeah. So I think that for that reason why it's not so we're not so concerned about that issue. But of course that is actually a problem, something that actually we are concerned about, because we let kids play games in our normal business. So yeah, I think normally they play a bit longer than that. So yeah, I think that's something we are also very concerned about.
15 minutes is the limit that we learned before. So because otherwise I think we are going to hear some comments or complaints from the parents.
There was a study in the UK just done last month on it.
Okay, that's great.
And I didn't read the whole thing yet, but I just saw the blurb that it was affecting children's eyes, children under the age of 8, if they were the extended period. It just meant it wasn't damaging them as much as they were taking a little bit longer to get their balance back or something like that. But it was the first of its kind. So it's significant because it's first. It doesn't mean it's, everyone says don't use it for children, but then look what Google's putting it in every school in the UK right now.
Yes.
But it's only as a tool. You're not replacing the teacher with the goggles, so it's a little more acceptable in that sense, So, but yeah, the study was done. I think anything over 8 or 9 minutes, they said that there was some effect to some of the children. Worth looking into. I think it was in Manchester, Leeds, where the study was done at the university.
Okay.
So Avi first.
Do you what made the doctors come up with this idea? Like they were the ones who were like, we want a VR game.
Yeah, they were the one who wanted the VR game. So because they were of course going for the competition with that thing first. So they submitted that idea for the competition. So the organizers they were matchmaking like people together, and that's where they found us and asked us to join together with them to create this application.
And how long did it take you to develop this whole thing?
So this is it?
Yeah, like the game and the hardware issues.
I mean, the whole thing was like maybe about 3 months discussions and everything. Right? Development was maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I would say. Yeah, it's not a very difficult application. Check that. The cost of such.
1 billion.
No, the one that I have currently is very, I would say it's very rough. Can try it out later. That one is definitely not so expensive. I would say. Yeah. So it's something that we did together with them. So we didn't bill them this amount or something. Yeah.
So a video where you all actually put it on the headset of the kids.
Yeah.
Did you all have to go through any like ethic board
No.
application?
The doctors just went ahead and just do it without consulting anyone.
You
I don't know if that is right to do or not, but yeah, that's not my I wasn't involved in that, so just to be clear.
Actually, normally, I think for the human-related research, they need to have some RIP clearance in the notes. I think for this competition, maybe due to the time constraint,
Yeah.
there is not enough time to do that because RBO usually takes several months to complete. So I think they must have received the consent from
The patient itself,
patient.
of course, that's definitely.
It's
Yeah.
very important.
Mm. So
That shows you how powerful it is though. Because in America, they're using it for burn patients right now for pain relief. There's a study done. And burn patients, it's the worst healing process because they have to change your bandages every day. And virtual reality reduced the pain by 70%. You know, when I first read it, I thought it said 7%, but it's 70%. That's significant. When you think of that, how less morphine you have to take, which is an addictive drug in itself during the healing process. So it's powerful. It's amazing what it can do on a good side.
a lot of people is using medical for education, training, and that kind of things. But we feel like maybe for pain management is something that we might be more interested in. I think it's something that is less covered, but I think it's something that you can look into. Yeah. Right. So, any other questions? If not, we'll let the last speaker actually can start to prepare. Yeah. I'll still take questions before until they set up everything.
Roy, was it
Yeah.
like how was it sort of working with the doctors?
How I was working with the doctor.
Yeah.
They were actually quite fun to work with, actually. I mean, one thing was they came up with the ideas, but they also recognized that they don't have the technical expertise for doing this kind of application. So they listened a lot to our ideas and how we can actually adapt the original idea to fit something that is more workable. Yeah, it was something that was very open, and the discussion, the collaboration was actually quite smooth, I would say. Yeah. So we were really happy with this entire project that we did. Yeah, I know that it might not be the case for most of the things. And in hospital, I know there's a lot of red tapes if you want to do something, a real project with them that they have to pay for. Yeah. They don't have to pay for this, so that's why maybe it's a bit easier. Yeah. Yeah.
It's working.
It's working.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
I'll figure it out.
Okay, so
That's it.
go talk in the middle. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
But I need to do the.
oh, the clicking.
Yeah, I
I can do that. So while we do that, Patricia is from Nanyang, and she is going to introduce a couple of new initiatives on the Skills Future, which are relevant to the both for companies and for poly grads who are looking to further their skills.
Thank you, Yashin. Yeah, hi. Thanks for inviting us. We are from Nanyang Polytechnic School of Interactive and Digital Media. Today, I have my colleagues like Andrew and Eric here. So, if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, please feel free to approach us. All right. Today, we are very happy to be here to share about our lifelong learning initiatives. All right. So we are from Nanyang Polytechnic, School of Interactive and Digital Media. Basically, we cover most spectrums in IDM. So it ranges from games development, animation, motion graphics, interaction design, animation, and visual effects. So we cover quite a big range of that. And we are the only polytechnics that actually have this cross-disciplinary learning environment, because we actually cover quite a lot of spectrums in terms of our diploma courses, which is the pre-employment training, and also the continual education training as well, which is the lifelong learning initiatives. Alright, so currently we have 6 full-time diploma programs, 4 part-time specialist programs, and 80 lifelong learning short courses. So recently, on 28th of October, SkillsFuture Singapore has launched this series of SkillsFuture series short courses. I think some of you might probably heard of it or even attended some of their road shows. So from there, SIDM, Nanyang Polytechnic, we are kind of like assigned as the sector lead for the digital media design, alright, to come up with a number of like lifelong learning digital media related short courses. Alright, so today I'm just going to give you an overview what we have. Alright, the details wise, later on we'll give you handouts that cover some of our specialist diploma and the courses, the details and so on. But today I just want to give you an overview of what we covers, and one of the very important initiatives that we see is very beneficial for the employers are this SkillsFuture N&Learn program. How we are invited here is because we actually did a presentation to Ashima, and I think she will be supporting us as well, alright, next year. So, so that's why she suggested this is a very good program, and we should just share with you guys in this platform too. Alright, so in short, ELP. So what N&Learn program is an initiative by SkillsFuture Singapore since March 2015. Alright, 2 years ago. So this is a work and studies program, alright, for fresh graduates and from polytechnics and ITE. Alright, it provides a good head start, alright, for them in careers, especially they just graduated, so this is a very good transition. So they kind of deepen their skills, alright, to be better transit into the workforce. And at the same time, we actually we actually have a lot of sessions with the industry, understanding what it needs in curriculums, which is relevant, alright, and also the companies can recruit fresh local graduates and prepare them through this work and study program, develop their skills so that they can take up a large job scope. And also the employers can take this opportunity to kind of develop we call it on-the-job training blueprint. Grants will be given to the companies while they develop this, and with that they can use that to like conduct more structured training program for their participants, and which is their employees. And of course, grants and sign-on incentive will be provided to the participating companies and participants. Alright, so how to be eligible to participate? Basically, you can identify your fresh graduates or your in-service employees. Alright, so they have to be a Singaporean or PR, permanent residents. So they are fresh polytechnics graduates who graduate from, within 5 years of windows from any of the local polys. However, those that is deemed as fresh graduates within 36 months from, you graduate from poly or you operating ready from national service, you can actually enjoy a $5,000 sign-on incentive. Alright, so this is actually criteria. So that's what I meant, you have that $5,000 sign-on incentive for fresh graduates. So this is more like a sign-on incentive, alright, for the participants. For the companies wise, you have to be locally registered companies, alright, so you can hire fresh graduates or identify existing staff, alright, sponsor them, this is very important. They are your staff, so you are actually placing them for this program to develop their skills. Alright, so you have to develop a 2 years career progression plan. This is actually part of the scheme. basically this is meant for, it's just a projection, this is just a communication tools between the employer and the participants. Because as your employers will probably think, wanted to kind of like understand what is their potential in retaining in your company, in working. So this will be a very good comms tool to kind of tell them where will they be and their career progression be like. All right. So lastly, of course, this is a work and study program. Part of it, they will be taking classes in NYP. All right. The other side of it, they will be actually taking up some, your structured training program that you have prepared for them. So you have to identify a mentor, all right, and based on the customized OJT blueprint that you have done, all right, to kind of provide these trainings to them. So this is kind of the commitment you have in this scheme. With that, right, you can see you have to kind of pay for the employees. So you can see this, the cost is pretty much affordable for a 1-year course. This is a 12 months course. Including of GST, of course, there's nominal fee, all right, apply like insurance fees, which is a few dollars, and some assessment fees as well. But this is pretty much highly subsidized by the government. If you work out the full cost fees, it ranges from about 6,000 to 7,000. So you can see it's very value for money. And on top of that, all right, SkillsFuture Singapore will actually be given, employees, participating companies up to 15,000 of grants. All right, so this will help you defray the cost of developing them, their capability developments and so on. All right, you can see that this 15,000 up to 15,000 of grants is like divided by 5 different types, all right, categories. Mentorship, because you have to provide mentor. All right, OJT blueprint, develop a structured OJT blueprint, and of course administrations, and of course additional OJT, as well as overseas attachment, which is very useful, especially if your company has overseas entities. All right, so this will be very helpful because it's covered the airfare, accommodation, and so on. Okay. So this is a rough concept of what Earn and Learn program is about. 12 months. For all our specialist diploma and learn programs, a 12 months program is a work and study, all right? So basically, in general, they take out classes once every fortnightly. At the same time, they are doing their on-the-job training at work. So it's not very disruptive to the usual workflow, all right? So with that, we actually currently we have 3 specialist diplomas under this program, Earn and Learn program. So they are 12 months. So we are still planning the commencement date for 2018. But for 2017, right, we actually roll out 4 runs of like specialist diploma. We have about 60 partners, 60 participants and about 40 participating companies that come on board since we launched that our ELP program to date. So you can see there are different programs. The first one, digital media productions, all right, it covers more like animations, motion graphics, and visual effects, all right, and of course user experience design, and last but not least, games development, which cover the design part, programming, and art. So the participants actually have some core modules to cover, and they will be specializing in different tracks like art tracks, programming tracks, or design tracks in these games development specialist diploma. All right, so I want to go in length what it really goes, but later on my colleagues will be kind of like pass the handouts to you which cover all the details, but you can see that this is some of the modules that cover the digital media productions. So yeah, so we have actually this digital production management followed by some electives that covers from like animation, motion graphics, and visual effects. All right, so same things go for user experience design. We actually run this this year. We pioneered in, we just launched this in October. So it actually have different areas like user experience design, project management, cover from consumer psychology, and so on, UX design principles. All right, so you have 6 modules, and same thing, it runs every fortnightly as well. So we have also the games development, as I mentioned. There are some core modules that will be covered. which is like principle of game design, mixed reality development pipeline, user experience design, user interface design, and of course game analytics. And with that, once the participants completed the 4 core modules, they will be specializing to the tracks that they prefer to, be it an art track, a design track, or a programming track. Right. On top of ELP program, we also have specialist diploma in visual effects, which focusing on procedural environment access creations in Houdini. And NYP is the only certified training institute in Asia for Houdini training. So we are planning to launch this in next April. So these are some of the modules that we cover under this specialist diploma. All right, so you can see that there's procedural mesh creations, dynamics and visual effects, and so on. All right, and you can see the fees is slightly different from the earlier on program because this is a 6 months program only. So you can see that there's a difference in terms of price. So the classes will be held twice a week. It's a slightly different structure from the first one. And we are very happy to share that we are also looking into a new specialist diploma that's very related to VR and AR. We're hoping to kind of like launch that next year as well. So with that, when we have more details, we can kind of email Ashima to disseminate the information to all of you here. All right, and of course we welcome any inputs, all right, from you. All right, with that, right, all the formal kind of specialist diploma, we also have about more than 80 short courses that ranges from user experience design, AR, VR, motion graphics, visual effects, web development, games development, and many more. All right, so you can visit the website if you are interested. So they are really very short courses that range from 1 day to 4 days. All right, and the prices is also very affordable. This is highly subsidized by SkillsFuture Singapore, so the courses kind of 70% subsidized, so you are paying very, very good rates for that. So if you are interested, all right, you can visit our website for more information. Right, yeah, this is a website to find out more about our courses, like lifelong learning. So yeah, besides visiting the website, you can also contact us. This is our contact, all right? For anything that's pertaining to short courses or customized courses, like or even early learning programs, you can approach myself, I'm Patricia, or Eric. All right, and of course the rest of the specialist diploma, if you have technical questions regarding curriculums, you can kind of like look for the various course managers. All right, any other questions regarding this? Yes.
So the classes are mostly like evening classes?
All right, we are, for the visual effects one, we are looking at evening classes if possible, but currently for Earn and Learn program, they are held during daytime. All right, one very important is because this is kind of sponsored by the companies and the companies are getting certain grants. If you want to show support that, you know, the company is showing support to the participants to attend classes during office hour. Yeah. And we don't want it to be like, you know, they are working full days, they are dragged to classes and things like that. So this is slightly a different arrangement for learning programs. Yes. Any other questions? Basically, in short, in summary, just remember learning program is a way and study. All right, you just remember the 2 figures, 15,000 out of 15,000 for the companies and $5,000 given to the participants. And this is really directly given to the participants and not through the account of the employer and through you. So yeah, that is the thing that you just have to remember. If you can't remember anything after my presentation, just these 3 things: way and study program and the money. $15,000 and $5,000, yes. And of course, the program, look for Patricia and Eric. All right, thank you.
So I just wanted to say that also I think we, you know, we really struggled to, you know, find people with the skills in this new industry. So these are some of the things that I hope are going to help that. So spread the word as well.
Thank you. We need your help.
Do you want to say something else?
In case anybody don't know this place, this is Pixel Studios. So it's where a lot of the game companies are housed at. Yeah, and we have an AR/VR lab over here, which I'm based at. So if there's anything, you can find me. Yeah, can connect you to more people in the industry. Yeah, it's a nice place for meetings as well. So you want to have a meeting place, yes, for VR and AR stuff. This is a perfect place to have. Yep.
Yeah, so thank you to Pixel for always welcoming us.
Sponsoring the venue and
yeah. And I wanted to just thank our guests tonight for coming here and giving up their time, and for you guys coming in the rain and making it, and also Mohan, who is doing our live very quietly in the corner. So yeah, you can see that on. Do you want to say anything?
Oh yeah. If anybody is doing 360 video, please come find me. I need people.
Oh, you need people
employees
to work for you.
Nah, just collab.
Oh, collaborations. Go see Mohan. Yeah, and otherwise, you know, it was our last meetup of this year. I hope next year we can do a lot of exciting things. And
oh yeah, if anybody wants to speak at our next event, to hit us up, or you know someone who can speak at the event, to let them contact us as well.
yeah, so actually we should say the board is myself, Roy, Aintat, who was here and might be outside, and then Don Anderson, who couldn't join us, and Jahan, who also couldn't join us, but will do, I hope, in the future. So thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I wanted to introduce myself because we have just opened what is Singapore's largest VR. Which Roy has had the pleasure of experiencing. And I was thinking, why we should do a meetup there, like offer like as an experience. Because
I have the same problem.
That's a team-based,
That's a sort of
military
fair side.
Yeah, it's like nothing you will have ever tried.
Right,
Rich or
Yeah.
but yeah, if you guys wanted to do a meetup there, like we don't
simulate fires in the cabin.
Yeah.
And so they are using it already.
things or something.
The military has it. The military is using it for soldier training. But that's
Virtual
not
roof
for
is a French
collaboration.
Okay. That much is a difference towards that.
Because again,
Yeah, because you come down for a free demo, I'm
and see,
very happy.
the only thing that connects
Free
it
demo to
is
see
you're
what it's
right.
like.
You don't want to try zombies.
Popular city building.
Yeah.
You never do.
And we always sleep.
Yeah. And you're supposed to be in the seat.
Okay, this is I can start sleeping.
I like the one where they say,
I have no idea what all those
smaller
things
child
mean.
becomes available. When do we ask for that? I mean, Miss, my 3-year-old needs one now that we're going down. When do they have those things? This is something they say all the time.
And also, maybe I'm thinking this is a very important case. I'm not sure if age manage some will give some challenge for your to be as light yeah, so yeah, if you watch the city video for more than 10 minutes, that might be a good for
I think I have one left, yes.
I have one of my lenses. This is one.
I have from NTU. I so actually for the application of theory, the fresh idea.
Whoever's awarded is kind of detail about what you have to achieve
because it's a very
it's not
technically challenging.
And if it's successful, we can do whatever summer winner. So we do 2 a year.
Very good to see that you focus your idea from this video time. That
The marketing side is amazing. my favorite commercial I've ever seen is the Audi Q7. It is amazing.
To the kid, it's not
Somehow, I mean, I remember my daughter having surgery, and I was certain that she was not in the surgery room when they put her in. Okay. That's amazing. Yeah. I was going to say, because I don't remember.
I mean, forget about all these things. Just entering a dental clinic here, it's like they're going to cut you off. I mean, these guys are like in mess, and then they're staring you. And the lights are like interrogation at that level. Grandpa don't look at you. And then you have 4 aunties and uncles. Cut me out.
But that was, to me, the scariest thing. Both pictures on that.
No, I thought
just as scary having all the surgery.
I thought the doctor
Oh yeah, you played with that.
Especially when you blow out, you need to breathe. That was the genius.
But if they're playing with the goggles while they're in their room, for hours, that makes a big difference.
It's the content.
Because it's still, again, it's very immersive. Even the most basic thing, it's very powerful. But that's the other thing I'm looking at this year is how dangerous this stuff is. Because there are no rules or regulations, and these are the things that we will be. This is what the World VR Forum is about. It's bringing the politicians and the leaders around the world to talk about the future.
When you have chemicals, I don't think the problem is with the duration of like 5 minutes. Because your visuals are like static and jumping as well. It's not on the platform that is like 360. You have less of the problem like this roller coaster thing. But I think it's the chemical. It's that chemical.
No, bringing in the CD
I think because like pregnancy babies, they inject a lot. My wife is saying, hey, I just lost my memory because of the chemicals. Because when they sedate it's the chemical. Not all kids are the same.
But then the movement.
I mean, it's a health hazard. You don't have the operation, you're going to die anyway. So I think it's necessary also, but you have to have someone educated that you're going to mitigate by having a quicker effect. Short. But thank you. Thank you. I will check it out.
On the website for sure.
Okay, after
I'm very interested right now.
I just saw it again. I use Flipboard. Flipboard is just an online magazine, and you can take this magazine and tell them what articles you want, post it every day, and automatically. I read it on Flipboard. It just happened this last month. A month or so ago. But it was studying the effects of VR on children. It's very, very recent, and I'm not sure it's a big test. It's just a small test at the university. But they were doing it sort of But as I know, when I went to Oculus Connect 2, which was my first experience with goggles, even with the Samsung Gear VR that we were all using in their displays and stuff, they had these big signs warning about heart attacks. I love these things, but it's true. And the thing is, when you still buy these devices now, they have all these warnings that this is going to kill you. I mean, because I'm a technophobe, I know, and it's going to happen. Sometime in our history, everyone uses a mobile phone too much. Their head's just going to blow up. It's going to happen. Some point, there's going to be something. And I know, it's just like, we're still debating what tobacco is about. We know it is, but we know it's not. It's a cycle thing. But technology is the same way. And I know that all the clients times
Yeah, I mean,
people use guns in
my
video
husband's
games.
watched
You know, to me, video games are not social issues, bad parenting is. My daughter didn't play violent video
But yeah, no, I
games
mean,
when she was little. I was a good parent, you know. So I don't blame the games or the manufacturers.
I know.
Well, our office is in Geneva. I'm actually from America, but I've traveled around the world most of my life as a child. My dad was in the military. So once you get a travel book, you never want to stay as long as too long.
I'm Frank.
I might have one left. Let me see if I have one left. Check it out. No, there you go. Email me, that'll be fine. Send me your details. Have in mind. And if I'll try to see if I find the article. I'm ready. But again, I remember when I was in Vienna. I was in Vienna at this conference with journalists. And right before I walked on stage, my Flipboard beeped, and I looked at it. It was this article about a doctor who had just been experimenting with pain relief on burn patients, and 70%. I mean, and so I was able to walk on stage in front of all these journalists and stuff and talk about something that just happened.
Talking about journalism, I don't know whether you know, but one very recognized and established professor at the university. His name is Professor
Right. Solar would know me for sure.
It's really fascinating. Like, I was having the first to come down, and it was so excited about
whether people speak she's back to the Swiss
I'd be interested in meeting with her next time I'm here. Because there's also, I also met the president of, what's the Performing Arts College here in New York called? Yeah, exactly. So I met the president at a gallery opening in the lobby of the Australian Embassy of all places. And again, we were talking, funny enough, here is the president of the Performing Arts College. You know who's backing? 20 years ago, he wrote a book about it. And so I'm sitting there asking if they're doing any VR arts of anything at the college, and he's interested because of his background, but he's not, and obviously, fun to meet with him too and find out things. There's a lot here, there's so much talent here. Right. Email me some details, so that way I'll see you. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. Well, my pleasure. My pleasure to be here. Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I keep looking at your events.
Yeah, look at our website for sure. I mean, we've done a lot in 2 years, and obviously next year will be very exciting for us too. The thing about our conference, which is we realize is the success of it, is just the networking. I mean, all of a sudden, you're an artist from Brazil, but you're meeting Hollywood directors and producers. I mean, because we're still small enough. I mean, I've seen some of these conferences. Like there's one in Dublin, where they moved now. Like in the first year, they had 450 people attending Technics, and the fifth year they had 45,000. Now, why would I wouldn't want to host a conference for 45,000 because I would want to go. I would want to meet people, and I was at this big conference in Bristol, the UK, this last year, and at 5 o'clock, boom, everyone went to their hotels and everything. I'm like, how do you meet people, network? And I realized the advantage of being on top of the Swiss Alps, you can't go anywhere. You're here for 4 days. But the thing is that created a huge social demand on our part too. Because I remember we had tons of parties scheduled, tons of events. Red Bull was one of our sponsors, so they had a Red Bull bar outside, a dome, it was a VR dome, you could watch films and stuff. And they expected to be closed about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
The young people are wild.
Oh, it was. In fact, we had one party. It was sponsored by a bank. Probably that lasts about 4 hours, but at 10 o'clock that night we had a secret party. Which everyone got a text on their phone what the secret party was. And it was in a hotel that had a pool and a bar and all that stuff. I remember my daughter going, so we're bringing the baby. She says, "Who's this decoration?" Oh my God, the amount of
You're joking?
half naked people.
You're not freezing cold?
But we had 5 DJs that night, from 10 o'clock to 4 a.m. on top of everything. I remember they had a Red Bull. She came up and said, "We want to host the secret party next year." So there was quite a buzz from it, actually. But you need to have your mic, for sure, because that's where people talk and meet.
Yes, and that's the value. I mean, this is like the most valuable part of this. Not the most valuable, I mean, I've learned a lot already, but this is actually getting. Can I introduce myself? Rebecca. We've just actually launched what could be Asia's, but definitely is Singapore's largest VR entertainment facility. We're doing collaborative VR only. It's mass market. Like, it's not for gamers, it's for friends, families, for team building, and it's a full 45-minute collaborative experience. And it's the feedback has been. We launched last month. We are in Chinatown. It's actually a French product. So we're in Geneva, we're in Paris, we're in Brussels.
I'm not sure.
We're open in Sydney last month as well. Yes, I'm based in Singapore. Oh, okay. So you did it. What's that?
I'm very cynical. So whenever somebody comes with the, we're going to do VR, I'm like,
in Paris, but the French part of the company, so I've partnered with the French guys to open Singapore and Sydney, but they have opened in Paris on their own okay, cool. Yeah, but it's amazing, and it's, I don't know if you've heard of The Void, kicks ass over that. Well, it's 45 minutes, it's a proper experience.
So when's it open?
It's open. We opened last month. Come down and check it out.
Solar's arriving tonight. We'll be here at 11 o'clock. I know he's in the conference.
Well, I've just heard about this conference, so someone's going to email me tomorrow to say, come down. I mean, someone said it was actually free to go, right? Okay. Is there any best time of the day?
There's a whole schedule. If you go to the site, there's a whole schedule.
On the VR side? Okay. Yeah.
But definitely Thursday, I think someone's going to have a meeting with us at 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'd love to go by Thursday.
Sure.
5 weddings, that would be definitely.
Yeah.
We've been working with Ken Jackson. We had 3 walking experiences at our conference.
Yeah.
Just one by 6 people in one game and stuff like that. It's amazing stuff.
It is quite.
And that's why Dreamscape got 20 million.
We're nowhere near like that scale.
I know, but still, that's why the interest is there.
But the thing is, we are open 7 locations, and we open on Hollywood Boulevard, so probably by Christmas, if not January. So we're I know a lot of these, the Hollywood houses, they've got a ton of money behind them, but they haven't done the distribution side yet because it's not their bread and butter. And they're going to create the content, but you need a distribution platform for it.
Weddings, we pay 5,000.
So we have 5,000 square foot at Lucky Chinatown. It's the entire basement. And yeah, it's a pretty big facility.
They also work for Bitcoin.
Just drop me in because I'm not always there. I kind of work from home.
3 years ago, it was
What's the time for Thursday?
Okay, well let me know when soon. When you speak to Solange, and I'll make sure.
We'd love to have that. I mean, I was in the shopping center
for 8
the other
hours
day
shoot
where the Singapore Film Festival conference happened, and they actually had a VR thing in the mall there.
Yes. You get them everywhere. We're at the tennis, the WTA tennis finals. We're at the BNP Hospitality Centre. They had a VR thing set up, walking the flag. It's all short form stuff, but it's fun, and people get really interested in it. So, I know, but we've opened. People can try. I saw on Channel News Asia today. the Lucas subsidiary who does the Void. And like he's from
I
California.
realized that
Like,
actually end up, I think the 20
we
seconds
do
with multiple
collaborative
things.
VR for 45 minutes.
It
should be digitized. I mean, it's quiet now. I mean,
I've done longer ones.
we get corporate groups. I mean, we opened last month. The awareness level in the industry is so low. And there's a huge barrier because people think
number of views was
Google, I mean, I know Google's a great thing, but in some ways it's a detriment to premium experience. We're using an HTC Vive, there's zero motion sickness. We've never had anyone get sick ever. Like it was deliberately designed that way.
I don't have my iPad.
You just add me, my name, on Facebook. Yeah, I can send you the details.
So it's a really premium experience, and the price reflects that. And you know, when a lot of people they try something and it's really short form.
Even YouTube also, I have it, but the number of views on YouTube was very bad for 360. Yeah, it was much better. Can I custom make my rig.
Oh, you! This is you!
Yes, this is me.
So I don't remember the specs, bro. Okay, you've been doing quite a lot. I noticed. I've seen it. Wow.
Now you're doing drone.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I have the drone 360 thing, but I haven't really figured out what it's supposed to be because then again it's like because I try a lot of things very boring. The drone is also very boring, so I'm still trying to figure out what to do. Yeah, but I'm thinking of trying to build FPV 360. Yet to be done. And a waterproof FPV 360 camera, which actually flies on the water, goes on the air, and fly all the spin, all the crazy stuff, drop into the water and stuff like that. I'm trying to do something like that and see whether people will like it.
Yeah. I think the guys at Orient Photo also played with the swinging 360. That was fun. At the end of the day, it's like to
there's
me.
No story, it's not like Casey style of doing things. You have that flow. But